Welcome to the Union Fitness Podcast with our special guest today, back from the undead, not dead. Josh too. Josh Alsap, producer. I didn't even mention that yet, but back from the undead.
Yeah, I don't even know where I am.
The myth, the legend, Curtis Miller, ladies and gentlemen, back. Can we get a sound effect in there?
I had to get a tour today of the facility again because it's just been a while. You know what I mean?
I understand.
Josh,
Yeah.
we haven't had Curtis here in a month.
Is it only been a month? It has felt
Did
like
you-
a decade as
did
the
you-
producer of this podcast.
So you miss me. That's what you're saying.
I have missed you more than you will ever know.
For our lovely listeners, before we really get into this, can anyone name anyone famous who was born and raised in Milwaukee,
Bet you can't.
the good land?
Milwaukee.
Bet you can't.
All right, now Josh is gonna Google that because I guess there's a NHL team out in Milwaukee or something that's in some sort of finals. Maybe I don't know.
I love that you just shit all over the whole thing.
Hey, does Pete Rubish count? You remember Pete Rubish?
No, who's Pete Rubish?
Some washed up power lifter.
All right. The only person I recognize is Trixie Martel. So
I don't know
Trixie
who
Mattel.
Jacob Lattimore is. Lamont Bentley, he's died, and I feel bad about that.
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know him.
So basically, moral story: Pittsburgh exponentially more famous people than Milwaukee.
Do you not know Trixie Mattel, the skinny legend?
Dan Marino. It's from Pittsburgh. I win. I just threw my trump card, or my
okay.
Rico Love.
yeah.
What are we looking
I
up
just-
here?
Les
Ace
Paul.
of Spades. Les Paul.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You only know his guitars. You don't know him.
That's still.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll still take Dan Marino.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry. I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna
Chris.
say, let us know. Let us know
Yeah.
if you know anybody.
My cousin Bill.
Yeah.
He was a heck of a high school hockey player back in the day.
If
Friend of a cousin of a sister.
none of the hockey players at Wisconsin are from Wisconsin. That's like the joke. They're all from Chicago, and then they go to Wisconsin to
Is
play.
anyone from Wisconsin?
Well, the people we just named.
I didn't. Les
Cows.
Paul.
Cows.
Cows. I'm
Cows
sure
are from Wisconsin.
for our Wisconsinite friends, we appreciate you.
They do have that badass Brazilian steak restaurant on campus.
Wait, Haley's from Wisconsin.
We love you, Haley.
Haley, we're sorry.
Haley is from Wisconsin. Go Badgers.
Whoops.
The former president of Robert Morris University, Greg DeLoma, now President Ryder, he did his PhD at the University of Wisconsin.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a fun fact. He was a good dude.
Put the mic in your mouth.
All right, sorry, I got a little away from Mike. So today,
What are we doing here?
we're going to talk about lifting a little bit.
Okay.
Kurt's back. Kurt's going to, we're going to talk to him about something we all struggle with. I think I struggle with it. You struggle with it?
Mm-hmm.
You struggle with it? Talking to you over there, producer.
What do
guy.
I struggle with?
Self-doubt.
Have you met me?
Also,
I haven't doubted myself since
I-
the third grade.
listen, my entire soul is actually just made up of the next one I'm going to say is imposter syndrome. Self-doubt
No,
and imposter
I
syndrome.
run a content company out of a small room in a gym.
You know,
I'm great.
You know what you're doing.
I know the level I'm at.
I'm well aware.
That's a good point. But I think to some level, everyone struggles with it. We were just talking about a good friend of ours who we had on the podcast, Ward,
Yeah.
who's really good about talking about these things and
Mhm.
opening up about these things. If you haven't listened to Ward's podcast, I think it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Really.
Just
good.
hearing him tell his story and how he's overcome self-doubt and shown self-improvement mentally, spiritually, physically, all those things. So Curdy, I want to talk to you about that.
Mhm.
You've competed at a high level of powerlifting.
Mhm.
I remember the day when Kevin Oak was here and him and Melissa, his girlfriend, and she said, or he said, I forget which one. Yeah, Kevin, or he said whatever, would really like to deadlift someday with Curtis. And Curtis like, Kevin Oak wants to deadlift with me?
I still don't understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Why?
You got to understand that Kevin is a guy that I followed since I got into powerlifting. So when I started powerlifting, it was to fill a void that I had competitively. I played baseball growing up, and I told myself I was going to be a professional baseball player, like every kid that plays baseball, right? But I legitimately wanted to.
Tenzing never said that.
Tenzing will, and then I'll be mad at him because he made it and I didn't. But so when I got later in high school and I found different hobbies and things like that, I decided that I wasn't going to play college baseball. And it was one of the regrets that I have, but not really, because it's gotten me here.
Yeah.
If I played baseball, who knows what the hell I'd be doing, right? But so when I was done playing baseball, in between that time and when I found powerlifting, there was just this competitive void, right? And I didn't really know what to do, but all I knew was 100%, right? When I was growing up, it didn't matter what I was supposed to be doing. All I was told by my father was give 100%, be your best, not necessarily be the best, right?
Do your best.
But be the absolute best that you can be. And that's kind of always stuck with me. So when I am powerlifting, I've been powerlifting for almost 10 years and I've gotten to the level that I'm at, I know that I'm still not at my best.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter sometimes, in my mind, it doesn't matter what I've accomplished. I know it's not my best. So that's what I'm comparing it to. So when I see people like Kevin, or even like Casey or Dan Green, or those guys that were doing it when I was
Mhm.
first getting into the game, that's who I compare myself to. So the things that I've accomplished, I very easily overlook them, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that's normal. I mean, but you think about, you just talked about, how long ago was it Casey was in the Raw Unity? 7 years?
Probably, yeah, six,
The
7
numbers
years ago,
he put up then at Raw Unity, he was second, I think, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
now if you had Raw Unity, he probably wouldn't. I mean, with the numbers he
With
had
the numbers
then,
that he hit, yeah.
he
yeah.
probably wouldn't make it.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
lifting is so much. There's so many more strong people at
Yeah.
such a high level.
Mhm.
So I think it's hard to compare yourself.
Yeah,
When
it is.
you're looking at whether it be Casey's numbers or Kevin's numbers or Dan Green's numbers or any good lifter, and I think when you actually meet someone that changes it too, because with Casey, he's one of your best friends.
Mhm.
He's a guy you can actually talk to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you kind of know him.
Sure.
So it kind of
Yeah.
humanizes that lift.
I'm like, dude, you're just a dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Like,
then it's like when Kevin comes in, you're like, I don't know Kevin.
yeah.
I just know Kevin's that super strong dude.
Yeah.
So I think when that person shows you some credit, it's like, well, are you deserving of that? And that's where, like I said, for me personally, it's always the imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
I remember Dave Tate did a thing with people from Elite a few years back. He's like, what's everyone writing about and why? And I said flat out, my biggest concern is, what do I have to say to a 800-pound squatter?
Mhm.
I'm not even close to an 800-pound squatter, probably never will be. What do I have? And he said, yeah, but use your gifts.
Yeah.
You're a coach.
Yeah.
Talk about the coaching aspect of it.
Sure.
So as a lifter who's also a coach yourself, where do you find that? Like, what's your strength there?
Well, to touch on something you just said, I think it's important for people to humanize themselves, or kind of like that's one of your strengths, right? Like
Mhm.
you weren't at the high level that those guys were at, and the way that you could talk to them and speak to them and things that you could make them understand probably help them understand that like they are human.
Yeah.
Like, yes, when you're at that
Absolutely.
high
That makes
level,
sense.
there's times you want to feel non-human, but like to see the perspective that you're coming from and the things that you can say, it probably opens their eyes to some things.
You just reminded me of Nate Harris. Because I remember Nate saying to me a couple years ago, someone wasn't stronger than me, you couldn't say anything to me.
Mm.
That's exactly what I think was. You don't say shit to me. You're
That's
not strong
crazy.
as me.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I don't feel that way. And the other day I said, Nate, that's been bouncing around in my head. And he goes, well, you'll learn a lot by the time you're 25. And I started laughing. I was
Right.
like, 25?
Yeah.
You're that mature at 25?
Yeah.
Like Nate, and I'm just going to blow up Nate here for a second. I don't think I appreciate the maturity of that young man.
No,
Where he at 25 years old is like, hey, I'll listen to whoever to learn from different people and different points of view. And they may not have walked the path I walk,
Sure.
but I can still learn from that person. And they may not squat, but I
Yeah.
can still learn from that person. They may be strong.
Dude, I think that's one of the biggest things that people miss is like, I think a lot of people have that mindset with things other than lifting.
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
if somebody hasn't done something that I've done, or they
dog
don't,
me.
or they don't at least have an understanding of what it is that I do, they are no help to me.
Yep.
But like, what other tools does that person possess that
Yeah.
could ultimately help you in what you do?
Yes.
And like, that's the craziest thing is that's why throughout powerlifting, I think one of the best things that I've ever done is just shut my mouth and listen to whoever it is. Now, like, that doesn't mean I apply everything that everybody's ever said, but I weigh my options and I take into consideration what anybody has ever told me. And I think that's one of the biggest tools that you could have.
This takes me to a question I've heard many times is, what would you tell a younger you? If you could go back 20 years and say, hey, Josh, don't drink so much. Hey, don't do this. Hey, Curtis, don't get your jaw wired shut. Hey, Hammer, I don't know. My life's pretty good.
How did I end up with don't drink so much? Mine's like, don't meet Todd Hammer.
We wouldn't all be. Well, here's the interesting part about that. And the reason I couldn't come up with one for myself is, trust me, not because my life has been perfect, but I think something you said. I don't think I would tell myself to do anything different because I pretty much like my life.
Yeah.
If I did something different, because the mistakes led me to who I am.
Definitely.
Sure.
The times I did something stupid and was embarrassed and fell on my face, it led me to who I am today. And I like my life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, could it be better? Maybe, but you know what? I think it could be a lot. There's a lot more downside I could see to upside of changing my mistakes and my errors and the things I did, whether it be life, training. Because I think back to college. I'm like, man, why didn't I study more? I could have had a 4.0.
Where would you be if you got a 4.0 though?
Yeah, I had a hello.
You had a 4.0
in college.
Well, you went to Robert Morris.
Yeah. Well.
They even have a hockey team at that school.
Hey, I had a 3.5 at Salisbury.
I had a 2.8 at Penn State.
Yeah.
That's like
you were
4.0
living it.
at Penn State.
That's like a B minus. I think.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, 3.0 is a B.
No.
A 2.8 is a B minus.
4 is an A.
Yeah, and 3 is
3 is
a
a
B.
B.
Yeah.
2.8 is definitely C.
C plus.
Maybe.
All right.
No, a C is a 2.0. A C plus is a 2.3, something like that. And then I think a B minus is a 2.8. So I was a B minus student at Penn State, and I have a master's from the Virginia Commonwealth University.
No, something's not adding up
Yeah.
here. There's no that.
Well, you went to Robert
I'm
Morris,
not
you
a
can't
math
add.
guy, but that's not it. That's
Well,
not it.
let's get back to the point.
Okay.
As the most educated guy in the room.
Yeah.
Something I
Hang on,
struggle-
let me get Cody in here. Cody.
Yeah. Yeah.
He went to Clemson. No offense, but not a great academic institution. Okay, so I struggle with that all the time, though. Is that, and like I said, it's a defining trait. I think one of my weaknesses is that imposter syndrome. I spoke, like I said, at a conference on Monday, and it's Tony Montgomery in there, and I respect the hell out of Tony, and Paula Need's in there.
Smart guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm like, man, I'm going to trip, fall on my face. And I think the one thing I've learned through the years is, even while I still have that struggle, is, and I hate this term, and I want your thoughts on it, stay in your lane.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I pretty
Yeah.
much talk about what I know.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm going to veer into your lane a little, but I'm pretty much going to stay into my level of expertise. And I think imposter syndrome has helped me, actually,
Mhm.
because it's let me say, I know I'm bad at that.
Mhm.
So that's not going to be something that I'm going to spend a absorbent amount of time on, because I'm committed to this road. And I could be wrong, and I actually kind of want your thoughts on that. Is this something I'm failing at, where I need to be switching lanes more often and saying, hey, I need to be like Cody and sit around and read about the actin, myosin chain and tropomonin and tropomyosin. I'm making up words now.
Well, I think it's all your mindset, all your outlook. You can very easily sit here and say that it's such a bad thing, and you just kind of live with it your whole life. But then when you are humbled and you understand, hey, this is how I'm feeling, it opens your eyes to kind of different things. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to get at. different avenues.
Yeah, I know
when-
what you're saying.
Hey, I'm not worthy enough to be training around these guys, but then, what is it that I have to offer? And it's, I've also been around the sport for 10 years, and without the failures that I've had, it wouldn't have maybe opened my eyes to learning this. And it's kind of like what you're talking about with Cody and reading all these different things, how did he get to that point?
Well, I think in lifting too, something that gets lost so much is yes, people. I mean, obviously the biggest total wins.
Sure.
It's cool to see an 800-pound deadlift.
Mhm.
Kevin just squatted 800 here. That's cool to see. When someone benches 500, it's cool to see.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you know what else is really cool to see? Someone grinding out their first 315 deadlift.
Oh, for sure.
And I do think sometimes that gets lost in the mix,
Mhm.
and people forget about that, is that I've seen this room stop for not a ton of weight, but
Mhm.
for something everyone knew that someone was pushing their own personal envelope. Like they
Yeah.
were at the limit, and they're like, oh, this person's going for a PR.
Mhm.
And I actually was out learning to train one time where we were all benching. I think I told you this story once, and Vincent DeCenzo was there.
One of the best ever.
Yeah, and we're all and he's raw shirt, whatever. Vincent's great. And you know, one thing I respect about it is he gave full attention to people on that bench, and we're on the bench with him, and we all hit 225. We all hit 275. We put 315 on. We all hit 315. And then there's one guy comes out and he's last to bench, and everyone had blown up 225. And you know, he would say 225 good, yeah. Everyone boom. 275 good, yeah. 315 good, yeah. Okay. And the last guy, he goes and he just misses. Like it was close. Like he didn't unrack it, unconfident. Came down fine, and then he came back down. And Vince is like, "Hey man, like we could have taken on a lighter weight. Why didn't you say something? What's your PR?" He goes 285.
Mhm.
We're like, "Why did you go 315?" Like everyone said.
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, everyone was going with it. I didn't want to be the oddball out." And I'm
Yeah.
like, and I remember at that point I actually spoke up, and I was like, "Let's put 290 on the bar and get it. Like, let's get that PR today that we can get, and then maybe chip away, and maybe you'll hit 300, 305, whatever." But I loved the guy's mindset on I'm going for it,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I think you have to have that confidence to say, "Hey, man, this is not where I'm at.
Mhm.
Let me change the weight, and let me hit a PR."
But you know who are the people that are responsible for helping you with that? Are the people who have done it. You know what I mean? So like, you take an average member who walks through these doors, right? They're going to look at, man, we've had employees in the past who have been intimidated because of what we've accomplished in our professional careers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like, you take an average member,
Put the mic in your mouth.
you take an average member who walks through the door and maybe they know, you know, your background in college athletics or my background in powerlifting, and they are super, super intimidated, right? But then it's our job as the people who have been in their shoes to speak up and say, hey, man, it doesn't matter what weight's on the bar. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what level you're at, how much you weigh, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just right now. So, but you don't get to that point without battling a little bit within yourself and having that imposter, you know?
Yeah.
So like, that guy was scared to death because of the people who he was
Well,
around.
he's looking at a 600-pound raw bencher who's 900-pound shirted bencher.
Right.
He doesn't want to say I can't bench 315.
Yeah.
He
So
was
now he's going to remember you. He's going to remember Vincent, and now he's going to be able to go back and say, "Hey, I dealt with that." And those guys who, man, I thought just were gonna let me hear about it because I was only a 285-pound bench presser, were the ones that cared about me the most and didn't give two shits about what I had on the bar.
Yeah, they cared
So-
that I worked hard and got a PR.
Exactly. So
And-
and that's what it comes back to.
I think that's one of the biggest take homes too, is when you're training with people, is that you have to humble yourself. You have to be honest. What is your level? Where are you at? And what's your current goal? You know, I always tease Jared because I hate Jared
Mhm.
because every time he deadlifts, like, what do you got today? 600 for a triple. And he weighs like 102 pounds or something, right?
It's always like every week it's like 600 on
yeah,
the bar.
yeah, we got 600 for a triple, then snatch grip for 495 for sets of 10.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jared, you weigh 102 pounds.
Yeah.
Man, that's why I don't like you, Jared.
Yeah.
He's getting married this week, and I
Yeah.
wish him a terrible wedding. I hope it rains on
Yeah.
them. It's supposed to be good luck if it
Yeah.
rains. Wedding day?
No, that's if you get pooped on by a bird. That's good luck.
I think both are good luck.
Okay.
Yes, I think
Man,
both
they
are
don't-
good luck.
They land right in
Yeah.
the forehead like
Yeah.
that, don't they?
Yeah.
So back to my point. If a bird poops on you on your wedding day, it's good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
Good. But I know if I struggle with it, and the reason I want to, delve into a little is I know I struggle with it. So you made the point, everyone struggles with it. I think back to, I was only here a few months and Ollie came up to me. He's like, "Hey, would you spot me?" And I'll never forget, there's 2 plates on the bar. I said, "Sure. How many are you doing?" And he looked at me like, well, this is going to be a PR.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
sweet. Let's get our minds right.
Yeah. Let's do it.
And he got it, and it was ugly.
Mhm.
And he goes, should I do it again?
Hmm.
And it reminded me of that scene in Boogie Nights early on where Marky Mark is actor, if you will, and he completes his job. And they're like, oh, you weren't supposed to do it that way. He's like, oh, you want me to do it again? And everyone's like, this is the greatest actor of this genre ever. And like Ollie looked at me, was like, so I should run that back. I'm like, it was a PR. No.
Yeah.
You know, be happy you had a PR. But I think that's something, you know, it's okay to say to someone, this is my PR, and it's not your PR. And I'm excited about it. And it doesn't matter if it's 500 pounds, 200 pounds, 300 pounds. We're all here to help one another, to push one another. And that's one of my biggest like things I'm proud about here
Definitely.
is, you know, we talked about Nate, or I talked about Nate Harris, right? But like you look at Nate Harris, that dude will spot a 135 pound PR
For sure.
in between his
Yeah.
sets of 495, whatever
Yeah.
he's benching that day, is
Mhm.
almost a certain amount of weight, because he wants to see people have fun, lift weights, and succeed. And I think 90% of our people here are that way. And I think the more we open ourselves up, they open themselves up, and they say humanize each other, the more success everyone's going to have.
Yeah.
And the more fun.
Now, let me ask you a question. So you've been around weight training. We'll just say weight training in general, nothing specific, for quite some time, decades.
Yes.
Right? Do you think it was always like this? Or do you think that with people being able to look up things on social media and easily comparable, you know, to other people and what the level that they're at with their journey, do you think that that's made things harder for people walking into a gym who maybe are not comfortable with themselves?
You know, I don't know, because I think in many ways social media has done great things.
Mhm.
Like, I find it interesting when the old guys complain about social media, and I'm like, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I love watching your lifts.
Yeah.
I love watching people succeed. I love the fact that our boards are used more for videotaping than they are for
Right,
because no
for
one
board
board presses
presses.
anymore. And everyone does the bench I can't stand.
The
Larson press. Yeah, everyone does the Larson press now. No one board or floor presses anymore. But I think it's definitely changed. Now, I think the crux of that question though is how my eyes have seen it change, because everyone's going to see it differently. You know, I can go back and be the old guy who says, back in my day, you found a dude who was a mentor and he helped you train, and there wasn't a coach, it was your buddy. And that's how I kind of got into it. Me and Jim Rooney were in the basement of VCU at Franklin Street Gym, just a terrible basement. Our sled was a tire that we just dumped 45s in. You know, that was how we did it back then. But also at the same time, we didn't have the availability of going on Instagram and being like, oh, because you can learn so much watching those other people
Sure.
train. So, but more so to Union Fitness today, I think it's a subculture that we specifically have at Union Fitness. We had a young lady who came in the other day and said, just moved here. I'm an Army West Point grad, power lifter, very smart, obviously, West Point grad, all these things. I'm trying out all the gyms. I said, great, where have you tried? And she's told me some of the gyms. I'm like, oh, that's a great gym. And she said, I tried this gym. I said, that's a good gym, and this is good for that. And we were, I think, the last gym she was going to try out. And I said, hey, if you need anything, tell me. I'm about to train, actually. And I was training. I think Ward was here, and there was a handful of people back there training. She was here for 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
And she's over there doing 45-degree hypers, and the evening crews now coming in, like
Yeah,
Bobby, and that
yeah.
crew's all rolling in.
Yeah.
And I walked over to her. I said, listen, on day passes, we have a time limitation. It's 3 hours.
Right.
And she looked at me. I was like, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Like, we really, no, you're good.
Yeah.
And she's like, I've been here a long time. I was like, it's fine. You're
It's all
good.
good.
And she's like, I love it here. And she went over and signed up immediately. I think you have to credit to everyone who's worked here, past, present, you know, whether it be Lindsay, whether it be Casey, whether it be Allie, whether it be, I mean, all the people, Ryan, yourself, me, everyone has built it to what it is. And I think has created that welcoming environment.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, not every gym has that.
No.
And not every gym, I think you have, you know, Ward lives here. And
He
he
does.
would spot any person that walked in the door.
I think he comes here just to spot people.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's Josh Conroy.
Josh,
He
Josh
does
Conroy.
actually
Yeah.
just come in to
Yeah.
spot people.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that very long-winded answer, I think, is the culture here that has been built before me, before you, but we hopefully are bringing our little pieces to it. And the piece I hope I bring, now that you actually kind of just woke me up to it, is a humanizing piece.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a land of misfit toys.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the lifters at night, it's like the train with the square wheels and, you know, the land of misfit toys.
Oh yeah, that
You know
poor
what I'm
guy.
talking about? Rudolph the
F4 guy.
Red-Nosed, you know Rudolph.
Rudolph,
You're
yeah.
talking about me? I train at
No,
night.
we're not talking about you. Your wife is the train with the square wheels.
Oh, that's not even kind of true. And we all know it. That's not even close to the truth.
I just saw her on your podcast, so I had to make sure I brought her up today.
Yeah.
No, but I think when you look at that group of people, it is a very welcoming group.
Mhm.
You know, you even get like a Kelsey who never says a word,
Yeah.
who can be the most intimidating human to talk to,
Mhm.
because you're like, wow, she's really strong, and she doesn't talk.
Yeah.
But if you said, hey, Kelsey, give me a spot, she'll come over and joke with you and spot with you.
Yeah.
Give you a spot, whatever. So I think this is a very unique place, and I've had so many people say that to me, and I think it's a credit to everyone who's been here.
Well, I think one of the more important parts, you know, I've worked at a lot of gyms. You've worked at a lot of gyms. We've trained at a lot of gyms. And I think one of the biggest things that I see that's different here than those other places is just that, like, we get to know people,
Yeah,
you know? I mean, how
they're
many?
your friends.
Yeah. Well, you know, how many times has a person come in to try it out for the day, and you get to actually, like, where are you from? That's like your first question that you ask them.
Yeah.
Where are you from? Oh, what part? Oh, I know such and such there.
'Cause
Because
I know
of course you
every
do.
town.
And even if you don't, you make it up.
Yeah,
No,
it's,
but-
it's a setup question.
yeah, yeah. But stuff like that instantly makes people feel like they belong here. And that's the biggest thing with any gym, because I can guarantee you, man, I've been to powerlifting gyms before that I've been so intimidated and feel like I don't even belong walking in there. You know what I mean? Like the first time I went to Selly's, like I was deserving of, anybody's deserving of being in there.
Yeah.
But like I walk in there and I kind of like find out who Ryan Selly is. And at the time I was in the same weight class. So he was like the guy I was chasing, right? One of the dudes I was chasing, 198. At one time he had the all-time world record. So I'm like, oh shit.
That's the
I'm
guy.
in Ryan Selly's house.
Yeah.
Man, I'm kind of nervous. And
Yeah,
I
bring
was
something.
and I was hungover. We went to the Ravens and the Steelers played on Christmas night. here.
Josh was probably drinking there too.
Josh was there, yeah.
I was probably at Selly's, not drinking. Very good, Ryan.
So
I never came hungover. Not once. I definitely didn't bench when I was drunk.
that's false.
I said at Ryan's here.
Okay, yeah. So, you know, when you walk in the door, certain places, and there weren't a lot of people there when I was there. I mean, I walked in and it was me, my wife, and Ryan, and nobody else was back there yet because it was early in the morning. I'm like, man, I don't even want to be here right now. And then some guys come in. I don't even know who they were. Maybe it was you. I don't know. And they're talking to me and they're like, hey man, what are you hitting today? I'm like, I'm squatting, you know, I'm getting ready for the Arnold. So I'm like, awesome. Let us know if you need a spot. You know, I'd only been competing for like 3 years at the time, but I was still like intimidated by the sport itself. And, you know, so even people who do this or have been doing it for a couple of years feel the same way. And I think that's something important for anybody to remember is it doesn't matter what I've lifted or what I've totaled. Because when I walk on the platform or I get under a bar, I feel the same way as any other person that when they get under a bar. And I'm still scared to death sometimes to put that weight on my back. You know what I mean? So I'm no different than anybody else.
But I think the thing is, the point you made too is, it's on all of us.
Yeah.
Each of us.
For sure.
And that's member,
Yeah.
us, me, you, Josh, whoever is
Mhm.
here to be that welcoming voice. Because, and I may have told you this story before, and I actually told it Monday at my presentation. I remember when Bob Youngs had cancer, came out, and I brought him up to Robert Morris to speak to my students. And he told me a story about being in a meet. And I don't remember if he told it to the whole group, but he definitely told me a story. It was he was at a meet down in Florida after his cancer treatments, and he was like 170 pounds.
Mhm.
The dude had been in a coma for 3 months, you know, staph infections from bed sore. I mean, he was a mess. And he said, I'm at this meet, I'm in the warm room, I'm spotting someone at a monolift. And the guy racks it, and I take a step back. We've all done that. And a lifter's walking this way, and we hit each other. Just kind of run into each other. And the guy looks at Bob and goes, "Get out of the way, old man," and keeps walking. And then Bob says, the day goes on, I didn't know, whatever, you know, we all meet idiots in our life. And he said, the guy comes up to me and is like, excuse me, you're Bob Youngs. He said, yes. I want to apologize. I shouldn't have spoken to you that way. I didn't know who you were. And Bob said, it's not about who I am.
No.
It's about who you are.
Yeah.
You know, you shouldn't have spoken to anyone that way.
Mhm.
I don't care if I'm a lifter not a lifter. I could have been someone's grandfather, father.
Mhm.
I'm just a dude in the back in a warm-up room.
Mhm.
Why are you taking yourself so serious? And that's one of the things I think we do a pretty good job at, and I think it's a credit to our members. And maybe it's,
sure.
even like I said before, us feeding that, but it is that general respect.
Mhm.
Is there times that people get heated while they're training?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
But generally, there's a respect whether you are the 500-pound squatter, the 600-pound squatter, 700-pound squatter, 800-pound squatter,
Yeah.
or the 200-pound squatter.
Yep.
You're here to work. You're here
Yeah.
to work hard. And as long as you're committed to that, I think most people generally are going to help you and commit to you
Sure.
the way you're going to commit to them. And I think, again, that's a credit to the members more than even us.
Yeah. Well, I think something to remember and keep in mind is that, like, what other thing other than gyms or working out or fitness or whatever can bring so many different people together for the same common goal?
Steeler game.
Right. Like,
Steeler Raven game.
no, like, yeah, professional sports.
Yeah.
Right. But besides that, like, what other thing, like, it doesn't matter because there's no rivalries.
Yeah.
When you're coming in here and working out, like, you can create a rivalry.
I
in your
know a
head,
couple, yeah.
but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like, this place is about you coming in, doing your thing. You coming in, doing your thing. You're getting better. You're getting better. You're probably dealing with shit that nobody else knows about. And this is the only way that you can get through it, and, like, for people to act like they did to Bob Young's that time, like, what are we doing here? What are we trying to prove?
It's
You know what I
lifting.
mean? It's
Lifting weights.
lifting. It's lifting weights. We don't get paid for it, right?
No one cares.
If you're in here to try to get some likes on Instagram, you're still just getting likes on Instagram. Like, we're all in here for the common goal, and I do think that's what Union Fitness does well.
Well, there's only one person in here making money off Instagram. That's
Kevin.
Yeah. Because he owns a business that's selling things on Instagram.
Yeah.
But realistically, likes on Instagram are cute. But it really doesn't. That's not real life. And I think people need to always remember that is that, we're all here to support each other, but don't allow that Instagram to be your self-gratifying, that, hey, I got more likes today,
Mhm.
make it. I started a thing a few years back where I said, all I'm going to do is show my weakest list on Instagram, the things I'm really bad at. It's going to
Yeah.
be conventional, deficit. Why? Because people need to be empowered to show their weakness and their failure.
Did it
because
work?
everyone should. No. A few people were like, oh, it's a good idea. I'll hashtag it. And,
Yeah.
and that was it. But I think at least if one person said, hey, it's okay not to show my best lift,
Mhm.
but to show that failure when I fell flat in my face. Or we all have something in our lifting that we kind of hide from. If you're doing your own program, you're like, I'm not going to do that. Well, I'm bad at it. I'm going to try to avoid it.
Yeah.
Subconsciously,
Yeah.
You may know you need it,
Mhm.
but you're going to try to hide from it. And that's where you become a better lifter when you expose yourself to that. So to me, to expose the world to that weakness
Mhm.
can change not just your lifting, but your life. Because you're saying, hey, it's okay. I am terrible at this.
Mhm.
Whether you're a terrible, whatever it is, deadlifter, dancer, I don't care. Let the world know I'm terrible at it. Let the world see me fail, fall on my face, humanize myself. And then maybe it'll empower others to do that. And hopefully others can then say, it's okay. I'm cool, man. I'm good
Yeah.
with this. So
Yeah. Well, that's why the past 4 weeks that I haven't been here, I've had to find other avenues. I was telling Josh, I think I spoke with you, I've had to find other avenues to feel not necessarily important, but find that purpose. Because when I come here, it doesn't matter if I'm lifting or just hanging out or helping everybody out. Like, that's what I love.
and also
and that-
defines you in many
Yeah,
ways.
in
Like,
some ways, yeah. And
he's a strong dude who
sure. Well, that is all the battle that just in 4 weeks, right? I was gone. I was taken out of work. We were both kind of shocked. And then I was like, wait, but if I'm not in the gym, who am I? And I had to do a lot of self-talking and, talking with other people to realize, like, hey, man, if you're not in the gym or if you're not lifting X amount of weight, it doesn't matter. You're still the same person. People still care about you just as much, and that kind of, I thought that powerlifting was like defining me. So, being back, it made me realize how much I really miss all of this, not just lifting, just being around people. I think at the end of the day, when I'm done powerlifting, I'll enjoy just helping others and being around others more than I did, hitting X amount of weight. I tell people that, the most excited and happy and proud I've ever been is when I've seen my wife deadlift 330 pounds and when I saw my best friend squat 500 pounds for the first time. Both beat any lift I've ever done in my entire life. And that just lets me know that this means more to me than just trying to be some big, strong guy.
But I think that's, moving to that educator from the athlete. And I think so many athletes struggle with that. I mean, I've seen it throughout my career where they define their life as an athlete when an injury occurs, when an illness occurs, when sport is taken from you. Mm-hmm. We were just talking about Robert Morris hockey. I'm sure a lot of those athletes are struggling mentally with that. Hey, my sport's been taken from me. It was out of my control. I had a sport, I had a home. And I think the hopefully positive to those athletes, hopefully, is that they can learn kind of this. And I mean, I remember watching Casey's when he got sick, mm-hmm. Coming to grips himself, and he wrote about it for Elite, and I really enjoyed that and spoke about the fact that, hey, you can't define yourself by mm-hmm. this. It is something you enjoy. And little thought here is that something I've learned is never to say, don't call yourself happy or sad or depressed, but you are at the moment happy.
Sure.
You can't define yourself by words. You have to say, right now I am this.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean tomorrow. You may not be strong right now, mm-hmm. but if you choose to get stronger, you absolutely have that within you. Yeah. It's just going to take the work, the commitment. I said, I'm not good at A to start this. Well, that's a choice. Mm-hmm. And, Ed Cohn once said, you were a great powerlifter to me. And I'm like, Ed Cohn, you're full of crap. And he said, for what you have, the work you've put in, the diet you've had, for everything you've done, you're a great powerlifter for you. I was like, I don't know if it's a compliment or an insult. I don't know what that means.
Certainly a compliment.
Yeah. But I think it's a great point is that you can always change, you can always grow, and you can always be what you want to be, but you have to be honest with yourself. And, and that's why, we talked about Ward. Ward's so good at that.
Yeah.
When he said to me, you have such a healthy relationship with food, again, I'm like, what does that mean? But then as I stuffed my third donut in my face, I was like, oh, I'm not thinking about the calories.
Right.
I'm not going to be shredded, but I'm going to enjoy the donut.
Yeah.
And one other thing, I have to touch on this because I think it's important on this, was I just heard this on a Hidden Brain podcast, and they said, always think of present self to future self. So you have a bowl of ice cream. Present self wants a bowl of ice cream. Present self will enjoy the bowl of ice cream. Future self will not get that same bowl of ice cream. Mm-hmm. It's gone, but they will have the consequences of the bowl of ice cream. Mm-hmm. Same as when training. Present self is on. If you're doing a set of 20 squats, like 15 to 17 is the worst, right?
Yeah.
Like after 17, you're gonna finish. But 15 to 17, you're like standing there, like, why? Yeah. Okay, go. Why? Okay, go. We could all talk to Cody. He loves 20s. To present self, that commitment is so high. Mm. The future self is going to be so thankful you got to 20.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of changed my way of thinking. Present self to future self. Am I rewarding future self, or am I just pleasing present self?
Sure.
And kind of keeping that in your mind through training, through diet, through all the things we do.
Yeah. Well, that's something, without...
Hang on a second. Todd's absolutely wrong because present and future self have the bowl of ice cream. It's just a different bowl of ice cream.
Just a different brand.
Yeah, sometimes it's Chunky Monkey, sometimes it's from Scoops, okay?
Well, what I was going to kind of add on that is, without giving away his secrets, I reached out to Ward. And if there's anybody who can help somebody get through a challenging time.
I'm laughing because you say his secrets, his voodoo.
Yeah.
Which he does.
Yeah, it is.
I
voodoo,
know.
Yeah. The dude has done it.
Yeah.
He's been through it. We had him on here. He's talked about where he was and where he is now. And you don't get from that to where he is now without understanding a lot of shit.
He struggles.
So when I got my cast off the first day and I looked at my scrawny, old man, wrinkly, puny looking arm, it hit me hard. And then they said, okay, you're taken out of work for 4 weeks. And I was like, what? I was just in work. What do you mean? And they're like, no, you're out of work for 4 weeks. And I'm like, what do I do? And then I'm looking at my arm and I'm like, for the one night when I was pouting, I was at rock bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. it could have been way worse. And I know people who are way worse. But for me and where I was at right there, I was at rock bottom. And I was like, how do I set goals? Where do I go from here? So I actually reached out to Ward. I said, hey, man, this is what I'm going through right now. Is this anything that you've experienced? And if so, could you help me at all? And he was like, I would be more than happy to.
He levitated down.
Yeah, just
Oh.
came down. Yeah. And so he said, okay, I'm gonna send you an email tomorrow, just a questionnaire. And I want you to look over it and fill it out. And it's going to be something completely different than what you're expecting and anything that you've ever filled out before. I was like, dude, I'm up for anything. I trust you.
I need to kill time here.
Yeah, right? I got 4 weeks, brother. So he sends me this, and it's these questionnaires, and it was about my nutrition and my lifestyle and things like that. But then it's this point where it gets to this box, and this box has all these different words in it, right? He said, I want you to pick the 5 that you think best represent you and what you believe in and what you stand for, right? So I think I picked like helping others, respect, hard work, stuff like that. And we went over it, and he was like, all right, look at all the other words in there. And he said, on the right side, there were a bunch of words that start off with like self this and self-respect, self-love, self-appreciation. And he was like, what about those? And I was like, man, those didn't even register. And he was like, why do you think that is? And I was like, man, I think because just the way I've programmed myself is always just, do and do and do. And I can't give like to myself. And I don't think I'm worthy enough of that, because I feel like that I have to spend my days volunteering and giving and helping, even if people don't want that. I feel like it's like an obligation, So then how can I do that to the best of my ability if I'm not focusing on these other areas about myself? And I think that was just a big thing. I don't even know how I got into that, to be honest. I don't even know what we were talking about, but it just really opened my eyes.
I was thinking, I don't remember either.
Yeah. No,
but I think you hit so many nails on the head. You've hit so many good points there. On JL had me do something when I lost a job, and JL said, had a similar type of test, it sounds like. And, the question is, there's no wrong answer. What defines you? And when after that, I took another job, and I remember my AD when I was at George Washington would always say, one of her go-tos was, we give other people with our overflow. You have to fill your own cup before you can give.
Deep.
And if you are giving and emptying your cup, and I always think about it like a lifter, like you have that stress thing, and I always say there's a faucet, and you keep dumping water in, it's going to overflow. In our case, overflowing being a bad thing. Only X amount of stress can leave the body. So if you are going to squat heavy today, and you have a fight with your wife, and you also get in a car accident, you also get a speeding ticket, then you're going to overflow. You're going to snap. Mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, you're going to snap. So you have to control what's going in. And I think, you said it too, like that includes what's going in from social media. What are you feeding your brain on social media every day? What are you feeding your brain in what you read every day? I love reading, and I love that people take on reading. And I'll be completely honest, it frustrates the crap out of me that most people I know only read these quote unquote self-help books, because those are great. But I'm like, I want you to feed your brain something better.
Yeah.
They're protein bars.
Yeah.
What I mean? Like, they got the stuff you need.
Yeah,
They'll get you through. But
right.
but I want you, when I talk to people who say, what should I read? I go, read the self-help. It's great. But then delve into something that's outside of your pay grade. You've earned that. And it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And you're not going to understand a page. And that's okay. That's okay. You'll get there. But read it a second time. Read that page again. And then, okay, I'm going to move on. I think I understand what they just said, but I'm going to move on. And I think when you do that, that's when growth is going to occur. Just like in training, when it becomes hard, that's when growth occurs. You can't always stay in the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And you have to push yourself. And that pushed you.
Sure.
Ward pushed you because he said to you, And I know you come from the mindset of work, and work will fix the problem, right? And I think your father taught you that's a great lesson. That being said, I can't stand, and I forget what companies use it as their thing is, no one cares, work harder. I get the idea. I hate it.
Yeah.
Because my job's to care.
Right.
That's my job.
Yeah.
My job is to care.
Yeah.
You had a bad day? I care.
Yeah.
I care. I'll hear about it. There's gonna be a time like, all right, enough. Now let's move on.
Yeah.
But I care. Now work harder.
Sure.
I think that's something that we have different in a lot of places, and that really is what Union Fitness is.
Definitely.
And what we are, and I hope to bring to everyone.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, one more thing I wanted to touch on was, you talked about the learning, like that's all part of the learning experience. And I think one of the biggest things that has helped me pass down my knowledge is actually like injuries, because you talked about stress and overflowing and things like that. And I think when I was programmed to work, then there's stress, and then bad things happen. I never had an injury. I mean, I had meniscus surgery in high school from baseball. But I never had an injury in powerlifting until 3 years ago. And then I've had like 5 since. But those were the busiest, most stressful times of my life.
And that kind of accumulated. Yeah, exactly. Going on.
But what those injuries have taught me, just like this one, is it's taught me something that I can pass on to somebody else. And not just physically with training. Because I could easily say, hey man, don't bend down and grab a tire like a dummy. Right? That's easy.
I flipped the tires for conditioning.
God damn. I'm never touching that tire again. But I could very easily tell somebody, hey, don't lift this way. And they're probably going to still lift that way. But if I say, hey man, if you get hurt, it's all right. Because this is what you're going to learn from it. And this is what we're going to take. And this is how we're going to apply.
You can have a sympathetic and an empathetic ear.
For sure.
And
sure.
You can listen to people.
So,
well, man, I think that's a great place to wrap it up. Hopefully you guys dug that. It was a little different episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Talked about our feelings as lifters.
Whoa.
Where we're at.
Lifters have feelings?
In our hearts, deep down inside in our souls. But,
good thing CJ wasn't in here.
But I'm glad CJ wasn't here because he would have fallen asleep.
Yeah.
On that, man, I appreciate you listening to myself and Curtis. Josh, we appreciate you over there DJing, scratching records, and doing all things you do.
Go Milwaukee Bucks. Is that what you want to say?
If he is Easy and I'm Dr. Dre, you are my MC Ren.
Holler.
And on that note, thank you for
showing your weaknesses. I do it every week on this podcast when I sit in this.
Thank you for joining us on your Union Fitness podcast. We will catch you next week.
Take care, everybody.